Now I would like to move on to the Ask Dave Anything campaign. I put out a forum for people to submit questions, and I have some now here for you, Dave, if you're ready.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, shoot.
So start off easy. Can you take us through a typical day for Dave working at Rocket Pool?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Log on pretty much about 9 o'clock in the morning. Verbally abuse the team for a while. Move on to no, I'm kidding. No. Well, we all get along like a house on fire. So, yeah, we basically just get in, talk over, what we've been doing, pretty much the day before. Um, we'll then pretty much engage in, well, we have a bit later in the day, I'll probably lead in this, but yeah, a bit later in the day, we have something called a stand up. So the morning is usually just get on with what you're doing the day before, any kind of open questions, ask them amongst the team, check on all the different channels, pretty much jump in there if any questions have been asked, against you. I usually have a whole stack of DMs, which I kind of get through in the mornings as well as emails. But yeah, we have a team stand up, usually about 1 p.m. most days, and then we'll get on a call. And these calls are like they're a video call, and they probably go for about 1 or 2 hours most days. So we kind of have a habit of making them run too long. So we spend a great deal of time just chatting, pretty much going over any open questions from the Discord, protocol improvements. Often, things that we're testing. So we test fairly thoroughly. We're not a super fast moving project, as you probably all know. We generally take our time, make sure things are done well rather than fast. So we'll often talk about current testing, things like that, how they're going. Yeah, and then just basically everyone go through what they've been working on. After that, yeah, that can sometimes run for 2 hours. Then it's pretty much just back to it. Usually a lot of business dev stuff. So my days used to be spent doing a fair bit of coding, not so much anymore. Now a lot of it is talking business dev stuff, managing, well, effectively, yeah, the company slash protocol, doing a whole bunch of different things. But I'm gonna say each day is fairly different. Like there's generally no 2 days which are the same, which is good. Our community definitely keeps us on our toes, which I personally enjoy because I like having that kind of variation throughout the day. But yeah, so that's again nothing groundbreaking, no real bombs there. Pretty much a standard workday for Rocket Pool. Yeah.
Great, thank you. It was interesting to see what the day in Dave's life is. It's definitely hard to tell because we all think of Dave as the founder, CEO, somewhat a lot bigger, but it's nice to hear some of your grounding actual daily routine.
Yeah, I actually do still get in the trenches and try to do some coding and DevOps when I can, because I still haven't lost that passion. I still quite enjoy getting there and creating things. It's one of the things that really drives me. So yeah, I still do that, but yeah, again, a lot of it now is business dev stuff, which is just as important. Not as fun, but still important.
So this next question requires a bit of context. Dave, you've been working generally on Ethereum for many years now, working specifically on the merge since it was under the Casper previous system, and then had to restart once that was abandoned. And unfortunately had to face a bug on the day of launch, delaying your eventual launch protocol. And now we stand at the precipice where Rocket Pool, the second largest liquid staking derivative token, essentially the only permissionless decentralized protocol that works. How does it feel to be arriving at the merge finally for an event that seems to never have actually been supposed to come?
Yeah, well, yesterday I saw you tweeted out that yeah I'd been working on Rocket Pool for over 6 years, and I actually did the math in my head, and you're right, like 6 years. I didn't knew it was kind of around that ballpark, but yeah, that's been a while. So yeah, for a little context, I have been working. Well, I've been in the crypto scene since 2013, relatively early on. So way back in the day when Bitcoin mining, Dogecoin mining was a thing. Um, but yeah, I got into Ethereum fairly early on. Basically saw the writing on the wall for because staking has always been a part of Ethereum's roadmap, right? So even before the beacon chain or anything like that, it's always been on the roadmap. So even back then, mining pools were quite prevalent. that was a big thing back then for Bitcoin. Obviously, no mining pools should have more than 51%, and that was a lot of the news stories and stuff back then. But now we've kind of, well, I should say back then, once Ethereum came out and they kind of put on the roadmap to transition to proof of stake, that something similar would be needed. Obviously, back then 32 ETH wasn't worth as much as is now, but still, it still stands that people would need to, if they wanted to participate in the system, they would still need to kind of pull their ether together. And that's kind of how things started around mid 2016. And I actually came across one of the, I think it is the original contract that I wrote way back then, just a couple of weeks ago. I'll share this in the Discord as well. It was just a single contract called ETH pool at the time, and it still has a lot of terminology that exists in Rocket Pool today. So I'll share that later on. It's a little piece of history. It's probably riddled with bugs from back then, but that was just the first kind of stab at the idea. Before I didn't come up with the name, I honestly can't even remember how I came up with the name Rocket Pool. I think I thought it just sounded pretty cool. Before that, I briefly entertained the idea of calling it Outback Steakhouse, which I'm really glad I didn't, because puns market terribly. So we ended up with Rocket Pool, which I'm super happy with. But to get to this point now, the merge, it's incredible. Obviously, it's back then, the merge wasn't even a thing because the beacon chain wasn't even a thing. In 2016, staking on the roadmap for Ethereum was done through a smart contract called Jasper. This got abandoned in mid 2018, just when we launched our first beta. So we bounced back from that. Luckily, a lot of the core concepts still carried over from the original kind of idea of Rocket Pool, and we just had to kind of retweak things to work with two new chains, the beacon chain and main chain. And now that we've come up to the point where the merge is happening, is just it's incredible. Like it's one of those things that kind of sneaks up on you. Like, you've been doing it for this long, day in, day out. Now you've gotten to this point and you just kind of look back and then you just kind of like a little bit humbled, to be honest, because it's taken that long to get to this point. But yeah, super excited. And I mean, it's been an absolute team effort, like, to get to the merge to now. I definitely could have done it without the current team we have. They've been absolutely phenomenal. Yeah.
Does the team have any plans for a merge party or anything of the sort? Or they'll be making sure nothing's blowing up? We've been doing audit stuff mostly for the last couple of weeks, in and out. And I've been engaging with auditors and so forth. So we haven't had time to really plan anything like that yet. But that's actually a really good reminder. We should probably get onto that fairly soon. No doubt the ETH Staker guys will be doing something, so we could potentially combine something with them, because we've always gotten along fantastically with them, and they're a little more organized with the online events for those kind of things than we are. So maybe combining something with them might be on the cards, or we could do our own thing. I'm definitely open to suggestions. Superfizz in the trading chat is saying that please join the merge party. So it seems that
there you go.
Made claims that they are hosting the merge party. So
yeah, that's fair. Maybe we can have our Redstone deployment party or something like that.
Looking forward to it. This next question is a bit more technical, and I believe actually has an answer that recently went out in the Discord. The question reads: there is a proposal to disable the 32 ETH full node operator deposits. Many have chosen this deposit method not knowing the refund queue will only be filled if the mini pool queue is 0. The refund queue continues to grow with no end in sight for these people who are stuck. The merge is expected to grow the mini pool queue further. It could be a very long time before the refund queue, which continues to grow, is cleared. What can be done? Now, Joe, I believe, posted a bit of an update on the team's stance on this. Would someone want to discuss this, Dave, if you want to?
Yeah, we had a chat about this yesterday, and our stand-ups often run too long. So we are potentially looking at disabling that in the smart node stack for the time being, for the reasons you suggest. And a lot of people don't realize, you can get started staking straight away, which is, beneficial when the queue is quite long, like it is now. But, obviously the drawback to that is you don't get refunded your 16 Ether potentially for quite some time. I myself are in that boat because I have two 32th mini pools which
Oof,
are
oof.
currently staking. So yeah, I definitely put my money where my mouth is. And when the queue was kind of getting a bit too long before we had those couple of whale deposits, I decided to kind of help out the protocol and threw in a couple to get things ticking along with the rETH ratio. But yes, now I am in that same boat. But it's okay. Yeah, I think, like I mentioned, there is benefits to that, but I think the downside is probably stronger than that, and that's what we kind of came to when we had a team chat yesterday. We kind of reached the conclusion that yeah, just disabling it from Smart Node Stack for the time being, potentially removing it from the contracts at future date, maybe. So it'll still be accessible directly via smart contracts if you wanted to really wanted to do one. But yeah, we'll effectively be disabling that from the smart node stack, which is what 99.9% of people use for the time being. Until LEBs potentially on the roadmap in the future too, then yeah, I can't see them really making it come back after that.
Mhm. Thank you for that good answer. And as for trying to sort of speed up the ability of these pools getting cleared, I think that's a bit of a difficult question, but one that ties into this next one, which is what is our growth strategy for rETH? Supply of node operators has a clear roadmap. How do we make sure that the demand for rETH can keep up?
Yeah, so this is pretty much the eternal struggle with dealing with two different groups which need to work in each other's favor. Essentially, it's how Rocket Pool works. With we have incentives to drive both these parties to work in each other's best interests effectively. So you do end up with lopsided kind of effects occasionally, and there's a lot of external factors that come in that, like current market conditions. Pretty much everyone was running from the hills, a few weeks ago. So that stopped a lot of deposits coming in for rETH because people were either exiting to a safer asset or just exiting entirely. And on the flip side of that, like a few months in before that, we had an excess supply of deposits in the deposit pool, but not enough node operators. And now we effectively have the opposite problem where we have a lot of node operators which are joining, which is I think it's super awesome because that they by far have the biggest kind of role in the protocol. So too many of these guys, while it does create a queue, I think that rETH demand will return. Potentially when the markets improve, but we are obviously looking at other liquidity incentives potentially as well, which can be temporary to some degree. So I'd rather us work on long-term kind of strategies to improve rETH adoption rather than kind of fiddling with liquidity incentives, which are generally short-term plays depending on kind of market dynamics. But Langers can probably chime in on that one as well. He's been doing a fair bit on that side.
Yeah, definitely the lending market stuff is going to be quite important. Like the MakerDAO thing is very important for rETH because it adds that extra layer of utility. So that's definitely something that is on that kind of growth strategy. Yeah, and we are looking at, so one of the things that it is kind of or not quite as obvious in the Redstone release because a lot of it focuses on kind of node operator stuff. But one of the things in the Redstone release is the fact that we're getting rid of the rETH delay. So currently, when you deposit into the deposit pool, there's this 24-hour delay, and so it kind of inhibits the integrations. Well, two things: it inhibits some of the integrations that you can do with rETH, and it inhibits essentially doing kind of like commissions, kind of referral commissions and that sort of thing. So getting rid of that delay actually helps with that as well. So first of all, it means that more integrations will be possible with rETH, and second of all, it means that we can get access to things like we've spoken a lot with Ledger, but we can't really do anything with Ledger at the moment because they understandably they want to take a clip on the ticket on the way through, and you can't do that with rETH at the moment. So once we get rid of that delay, then we'll be able to kind of do those sorts of partnership arrangements and drive some of that kind of demand through those partnerships.
That same situation also applies to the Argent integration for their wallet for direct staking. I believe one of the problems was the Aztec, not Argent. Argent had its own set of issues.
Argent's a bit different. Argent's a bit different. Theirs is more to do with and they prefer to, for some reason, to offer just one staking. There's a technical reason and a UX reason why they only offer one staking derivative in Argent. But we've definitely been kind of engaging them to try to change their mind about that. The other, as you said, Aztec is there's definitely the problem with Aztec that you is the 24-hour delay that stops that integration currently. So that opens up that definitely.
Great, thank you for the thoughts. This next question is a bit of a fun one. Dave, could you share what your thoughts and feelings are as Rocket Pool begins to move from your vision, blood, sweat, and love into a DAO-based governance business? What challenges and struggles are you expecting?
Okay, that's a lot of fluids to go into one question. Honestly, as I think the most important thing now, kind of in this transition, is to not rush things and to craft things as best we can. We kind of touched on that earlier with, node operators essentially having a lot of power in this governance system because they're the most invested in the protocol. Current governance systems, or at least a lot of current governance systems that exist, are just generally those token-based ones. Make a token, call it a day. Then they cast a proposal. The founder comes in, wipes out the proposal because they own the majority of the tokens, or you can delegate your tokens to another potential whale like that that isn't really potentially invested in the protocol. And there's also a whole bunch of other side effects from simple attacks and things like that. So I think taking our time and crafting it is probably the most important thing in this transitional phase. We've already switched over to the ODAO, effectively having control over Rocket Pool smart contracts and stuff going in now. So that transition is already largely underway, which is great because we were never intended to have control over the protocol for very long, and I think we've managed to kind of keep that promise currently. Now, Rocket Pool is pretty much managed by the ODAO, and any ODAO member can make proposals going forward. But beyond that, obviously the protocol DAO having effective governance, that will be the next step. And I would like us to take our time and kind of craft it as best we can and get feedback from the community. It's not an easy thing to do, governance, especially when you're dealing with a decentralized staking protocol. So there's a whole bunch of things that go into that, like what should the protocol, the PDAO have control over, effectively, various settings, things like that. There's some which you should probably, when things are running sufficiently well, that you can just leave that setting alone. So you probably shouldn't need to change that in the future. So things like that, we need to consider certain settings, basically the weight of governance from node operators, how the weight of their vote counts, based on mini pools and so forth, and, time spent staking. So I think we're in a pretty good position. I think the direction that we've kind of created so far is one that I've always kind of envisioned for how the protocol DAO will kind of come online. So as long as we can keep doing that and just do it carefully, that's the main thing. I don't want to see it rushed. Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things. I know people are probably. I know we have a history of taking things slowly, but I would like to think that's pretty much worked out very well so far. So it can be frustrating from community's perspective to hear us, kind of talking about these things, how we want to take our time. But I don't think it'd be understated. You don't want to rush something with something as big as Rocket Pool currently is. You want to do things as well as you can in a measured way.
I think one of the most common justified pessimistic takes on the current state of crypto is that governance in most cases is a mess. There are problems everywhere, and it is very inefficient or centralized. There a lot of different problems exist in different protocols, unfortunately, and so I think we are quite justified, or the team is quite justified in their slow and measured approach, given how much is on the line and how much can go wrong if you hand over power too early to a semi-incompetent system.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think you summarized it probably a lot quicker than I did.
Yeah, I think we kind of mentioned it before, but a lot of governance systems struggle with the kind of unaligned actors, and we're lucky that we have kind of RPL that is being staked within the system, and node operators are aligned. That's definitely a key thing that Rocket Pool has in its favor. The governance system that we're rolling out now is kind of like a sandbox governance system, and it will inform the design as we go. So it's definitely a kind of an incremental process, but something that we're starting along that journey.
That's right. You wouldn't want to lock yourselves into a system for the first time, not knowing exactly what it's going to do. So treating it as somewhat of a indicator before it's an iron locked decision maker is definitely a fair effect, especially given how fluid the protocol team is with the community. Things seem currently on an okay track. Although one snapshot is certainly a prolific comment in the Discord. This next question comes from Superfizz, and Superfizz asks, curious how Dave and the team are holding up. Stressed? Doing well? How's the fam? Open question.
No, I appreciate that very kindly thought out question, Superfizz. No, we are all doing quite well. I can't speak for everyone personally, but yeah, we're just pretty much keeping our eye on the ball at this stage. This is probably, I've been in the crypto now for, I said 2013, so it's been my fourth or fifth kind of market downturn. So I'm pretty much dead inside when it comes to market dynamics like this currently. I'm a very, very firm believer in Ethereum, obviously. I have no doubt it'll recover. Yeah, but it generally doesn't worry me too much. I just try and keep busy and keep working with the team from day to day. My daughter lost her first tooth last night, which is very nice. That was from a personal perspective. Yeah, she loved it. No, we're all I'd like to say we're all doing quite well, but I'll let the guys chime in on their own. I don't want to speak on their behalf.
Did you pay her an RPL?
Yeah, she got a ledger under her pillow.
Yeah, the pressure is definitely on. I would say the pressure is definitely on with the merge dates kind of coming through. There's a lot of things going on within the Rocket Pool kind of ecosystem as the bi-weekly updates get bigger and bigger and bigger. So the pressure is definitely on, but no, we're doing very well actually. I think the team are kind of banding together very well. We're kind of we've been working with each other for quite a while now. So apart from Mav, but Mav is fitting in very, very well. We've worked with each other for quite a while now, so we kind of know each other very well, and we can and we all look out for each other in terms of the work and that sort of stuff. So no, it is going very well, and everyone's kind of pumped to kind of see how the next few months play out.
Yeah, I can share that aside from recovering from a little mini heart attack, now that we've got this Twitter Spaces up and running properly, I was just saying to Langers yesterday, maybe recently anyway, that for me, obviously week, I really don't know anymore, 3 or so, it's really hit that transition point, right? Whenever you start out, there's a period of learning the ropes and getting up to speed and getting all the system access and everything. And it's kind of hit me now that, hey, there's a lot going on. There's a lot to do. And it's only going to continue moving in that direction as we, get closer to September. So incredibly exciting, and yeah, great to be a part of this this team doing some pretty amazing things. So yeah.
Thanks for that, Maverick. It's always a difficult time to join a new organization. Joe, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share?
Yeah, sorry, I'm in the middle of helping people fix things while this is going on. So
if you're
it's
busy, we can come back.
No, it's par for the course. Basically, there's no rest for the wicked, is my opinion. From the smart nodes perspective, there's always plenty to do, and the fact that like MEV Boost is finally here, but it's just been you've just been able to test it relatively recently, is kind of a good indicator. There's a lot that needs to get done for the merge. And so there's plenty to be done. I'm very excited for the merge. I'm very happy. I'm elated that we have a date and that it's finally happening and things. But that doesn't make life any easier. It just means that there's more stuff to do. So that's kind of what I'm working through, is making sure everything is ready for it.
Great. Glad the team is all in high spirits despite the stressful situation that is the impending merge. A quick question on the topic of governments that was posted in the trading chat. Will on-chain reputation or credentials will on-chain reputation and credentials governance be considered?
Yes. I think one of the things, no, definitely, or actually more so in, maybe not in the PDAO setting, because the PDAO setting kind of relies on kind of RPL voting. But one of the things that may come into play is around like setting up committees for particular things. So, for example, we have like the grant committee that we want to kind of set up. So that sort of thing will be useful for the setting up those committees. So essentially, if we have something where we need to spin up a particular kind of committee, then that would be useful. We don't really have a mechanism for that in Rocket Port at the moment, and I think it's particularly like community contributions and that sort of thing. You know, all of that weight should be counted in terms of that. So yeah, that's where we kind of see that being used. Although I'm not 100% sure whether I haven't done enough research on the maturity of some of those solutions, but we can definitely. I have kind of done a little bit of analysis, and it seems quite early, but we can. It's definitely in the design space.
Yeah, my my basic understanding of the sort of attestation space and on-chain social identity space is that it's fairly early stages and kind of still grappling with the Sybil resistance problem before it moves on to the verification of credentials idea. So hopefully something to consider for the future, especially as DVT becomes more of a topic. But yeah, so thank you for that question. Whoever answered it in the trading channel, definitely something the future protocol will consider. Last question for today, unless anyone else has a question, though we are running pretty late, is what is your favorite Discord bot command? Open question, start with Dave.
My favorite Discord bot command. I don't mind. Oh, well, I'm actually a pretty big fan of the depositable one because I'm generally pay close attention to that. But yeah, that would probably be my most favorite one at the moment. But I'll leave it open to the other guys.
Probably the one I use the most is probably the rETH APR one. just to keep track of that. Mainly because like we've been meaning to do our own internal like telemetry and stuff for that, and we haven't needed to because because of the bot. And you know, I've spoken to Invis about about it and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, no, it did. Yeah, so that's probably the one I use the most. I like the ones. I like the graph ones. Some of the graph ones are really awesome, and I can't remember which one I'm thinking of now. But
The
the
commission rate
commission
used to be
the
great.
commission rate one used to be when we had a dynamic commission. That was an awesome one.
The best bot definitely is the one that does your job for you. Have to agree.
Exactly.
Can't go past ratio either.
The classic. Joe?
Yeah, I got something to say here. So the command I use the most is unimaginatively /AFK because I get pinged at all hours of the day, and so that's a helpful command. The command that is my favorite is unequivocally /jam, which brings up the Rocket Pool song that Jonathan Mann has put together. That is probably the most important command that we have on the Discord right now. And I'm seeing plenty of people are taking advantage of that. Very good.
The other good one
definitely
is the dev time one, or dev team time one, which now includes Mav on there as well.
an important one. I still always mess up the Twitter Space times when America used to be stupid and changes time zones. My personal favorite is the similar to Joe, the one of the fun ones, ours /wall, just because that was a great time when that first major cell wall was taken down,